we don't seem to agree on a simple fact. After we've the first regime, second regime, and what we have now, that to move this country forward, that we must restructure the country. We are not on the same page for that. A lot of people don't understand, or they must control that. So any politician even campaigning now doesn't even want to touch restructuring. If you touch restructuring, you might lose some part of the country.
Well, it's something that is inevitable. It's inevitable that we restructure. There are certain things that only restructuring can address. For example, for me, I don't see why we shouldn't take a look at the 1999 Constitution and amend some portions of it that, in my view, are even impediments to the growth and development of our country. How, for example, do we have a situation where states are literally discouraged by the Constitution from generating electricity by themselves? The law says that once you generate some level of electricity, it has to be pushed into the national grid, where it is then redistributed. That is unfair to a lot of the states. Many states would naturally be able to generate the level of electricity that they need to improve the economy of those states. But to have that kind of law is not helping matters at all. Look at when Lagos came up with when Lagos brought in Aaron to help with electricity generation in the
IPP.
State. Other states, look at a state like Kwara, for example. The federal government was owing a company that was building power plant somewhere in Kwara, I think in Gomo, area of Ilorin. You are owing. The Bukola Saraki administration decided to bring them back. They had left after Yar'Adua took over. Yar'Adua took over, he stopped work on those independent power projects. They had left. It was Bukola that then brought them back, paid them, continued the project. But once electricity is generated from that power plant, it is then fed into the national grid. You then discover that even you that built the power plant, your own state may not even get up towards some states that do not have power plant at all. So I believe that is wrong. We also look at something like the police, for example. It is very clear that the centrally run police cannot work in a country like ours. I'm happy that some of the people that in the past could have opposed it, like the governor of Kaduna State, they are now coming out. The governor of Katsina State is saying that the states need state police. So I want to believe that even this restructuring thing, we are going to get more and more converts. People who are playing politics now should know that it's the future of our country that they are playing politics with. The more converts to this idea we have, the more probable it is for the country to eventually get on the path of true restructuring. Because some of you have a state like Katsina now, they've decided to set up their own security outfit. Some years back, Katsina would not have thought about that. But looking at the powerlessness, the situation that they found themselves with bandits running riot, and the police and the army, they are unable to tame these bandits. It has then occurred to the governor of the state to set up a security outfit of their own and then get the police to help in training them. So states are spending so much money funding federal police. Look at what Lagos, if you know what Lagos spends every year, providing equipment for federal police, buying the things that they need, giving allowances. Hardwares. All the states, I was Katsina the other day, where they showed me some of the money that they spent in 7 years on
police command.
Honestly, it runs into billions. No, they don't. They also fund the army, provide money for the army by way of allowances, provide Hilux vans and the rest for their patrols and all that. So if you have your own state police, if you can do all of that to support federal police, why won't you be able to run your own state police? So already we are even, we have what looks like state police already. If the states can be spending all of that money just to fund the federal police. So there are so many things that we need to do. So restructuring is something, yes, you could say the time had not come now, but I'm convinced that the time for restructuring will come and restructuring will take root.
What do you think about this?
Well, I think there is a misconception about people talking about state police. We don't need it because governors will use it to oppress people. That is their strongest argument. They are forgetting that when we are talking about state police, it's not about elections. Elections come in once in 4 years. When we are talking about policing, we are talking about protection of the environment, protection of property, protection of environment, crime detection and prevention. We are talking about defense of the values and heritage of the people. So policing is not just about people going to poll to vote. And even when you are saying that state governors will use police to oppress, can't federal government also use police to oppress, federal police to oppress people? So I think it is archaic, those who are saying that we don't need state police. And I believe this constitution in the country today should convince anyone that you cannot bring a DPO from Ekiti State to go and be DPO in Sokoto. There's no way we understand the sociology, the geography of the environment, the demography of the history of the people. It's better you have somebody who is an indigenous of that place, who is used to the history and culture of those people living there, who speaks their language, who understand their culture, And I think that's the essence of federalism. I believe, like Babajide said, gradually people are becoming more convinced because one of the most dominant issues now is restructuring. And I believe people will become more convinced that it is to make Nigeria stronger and not to weaken it.
Kolade, how do you go about this? Is it the piecemeal approach or the holistic approach?
I don't think we'll go a long way with the piecemeal approach because, the moment we effect one or two and some folks are not satisfied, we may run into each. But of course, you look at the foundation of this, it did not start today. In 1865 Berlin Conference, when they shared Africa to themselves and they ceded the then Niger area to Britain, the very beginning of that was that the Britain was not ready to to colonize us then. So they gave Nigeria to a man called Gordon Tubman, to govern, to administer, really very well. And by 1899, when the British were ready to take over to colonize Nigeria, something was introduced. It is called transactional leadership. That they actually bought back Nigeria from that man, paying, I think, £65,000 to bury about it. I can't remember. And from that very time, the entire structure of governance has been centered around, transaction. And if you want to restructure, it will take food away from these people. I'm very, very, very sure of that. Some folks see it as some certain region, and they take tax, of course, illegally from the entire part of the country. Once we restructure, you will have more of regional laws than this national laws. And it means that some people will be taken away from this table, this common table that they share our patrimony. So I doubt if we can take it by the piecemeal approach. If we do, the moment one or two is introduced and it doesn't go down well in the whole, I doubt if we'll be able to go ahead. So for me, we must face the reality. This is one thing we must do to get the country ahead. And remember that in this union, of course, in a federating system, the unit ought to be
Okay, I come back to you now. At 62, we're not doing well.
No, we are not. We are not.
What does Nigeria need to do?
Well, you see, at 62, a man is already fully grown and should be even thinking of the day when he will meet his maker. But Nigeria is still acting like a toddler at 62. We have all kinds of problems. We are not, despite all the best efforts of previous leaders, in terms of national unity and integration, we are not where we should be. The country is divided along religious and ethnic lines, and if we do not see ourselves first as Nigerians and not as people of a certain ethnicity or religion, then we will not make progress as a nation. The country will remain divided. For now, in my view, we need to address the biggest problems that we face as a country. Inflation, rising unemployment, depreciating currency, pervasive insecurity, debt service, outstripping the capacity to generate revenue, and public debt continuing to rise. These, along with the problem of insecurity that is such a big problem now, more than at any time in our history, we are seeing signs of a failing state. We must make sure that these signs of a failing state do not eventually lead us to a failed state. We still have the opportunity to address the drift. Nigeria certainly needs more than a makeover. Somebody said what Nigeria needs is a makeover. I think we need more than a makeover at this time. And yes, let's give ourselves credit that at least we've stayed together for 62 years. In fairness to us, a lot of our detractors as a nation didn't think that up to now we will still be together. But that's not enough. So we are still together. We should make progress in other areas.
What do you need to do?
Well, let me say that the current government, because if we are talking about what we need to do, who is to implement our suggestions, the current government has, let's say, just like 8 months. I must say that my confidence has waned that this government can actually address these fundamental problems. So perhaps our only hope, the hope that is nearer to us, is to ensure that our vote counts in the coming election, and that the president that is coming in should realize that centralization breeds corruption. It breeds underdevelopment. It breeds bureaucracy and incompetence. So we hope that the votes of Nigerians will count. There is something significant about the 2023 election. for the first time in recent memory, it defines our ethnic configuration. The four major ethnic groups, Atiku representing one, Asiwaju representing one, Obi representing one, Kwakwanso representing the other ethnic Hausa group in the north. So in that case, we hope that a candidate that will be able to come out forcefully to build bridges across the divide, and that means going to communities, talking to them, giving them eliminating their fears, addressing their fears and their aspirations. Somebody with a program that will appeal to all Nigerians, at least to a large extent. And I think that's the kind of person. We don't need a regional person or somebody who's parochial. We need somebody who can come out with a new vision that will inspire all Nigerians, irrespective of wherever they come from.
Situation.
Yes,
That's
the kind of person we need, and that's why I think voters should be looking at.
I don't think we should anything worse than where we found ourselves now. It's dangerous for us as a nation. We need a leader that will come in and address the drift, not just address the drift, place us on the path of real progress.
Yeah.
Anything less than that, honestly, we are moving towards a failed state, a state that cannot fund its activities. It's already on the road to becoming a failed state, and that's what we are looking at now. So that insecurity,
those indicators of failed states.
Yes.
When non-state actors,
are holding on to territories up till now,
telling some people not to come out every Monday, you know that.
And we are unable to address and put an end to the nonsense. If is that not? Look at what Tuji was saying the other day. There are people who can march in Lagos. They are marching in Lagos and beating their chest about the fact that they can march in Lagos. But we know that people can't march in some parts of Nigeria like that. That is a fact. You either risk being gunned down or being sent to just being sent to your maker. But you can march in Lagos and even cause traffic snails in the process. We cannot, the security situation must not, if it degenerates beyond this point under a new administration, we are in trouble as a country. If the economy degenerates, because we have this tendency for a new administration to be worse than the one that he replaced.
Since 1999.
Yes, we always see that, But it's dangerous for us to have that situation post 2023. If we have that situation post 2023, honestly, Nigeria will be in trouble. And all of us, no one can even predict what will happen next if this sort of unfavorable state of affairs should continue.
Kolawole, what do you think? Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you.
Yes. So we are talking about, since 1999, we're looking at those things we've gotten right and those things we've not gotten right. And the impact of the 2023 election.
Well, I think, let me start from the very last. I won't like to dwell so much on the things we've gotten right and things wrong, but let's talk about the 2023 elections coming. Unfortunately, you see a population that is not asking the right question. For me, I should think for the first time. You have a set of leaders who have been in different places before. Now they have served in different capacities. In fact, you have one who served as a vice president in this country, and you have three major other candidates who have served as governors of their respective states. I think we should start looking clearly at what each of them did in their respective places. That should be the right yardstick, to judge their capacity to govern now. I think it should be less of speeches. It should be less of, somebody is excited or not. After all, if I am a company owner and I'm looking forward to employ, I have different candidates applying for that same position. I won't be looking at the one I'm looking to talk more because I've gone to places to to pitch ideas. I've gone to places to defend proposals. Your past project, what you've done in the places you were, where you've worked before. So I think Nigerians should be asking the right questions on what did this man, do on education when he was there? What did he do on security when he was there? What did he do on health when he was there? What did he do in infrastructure when he was there? If we are able to ask these questions, I think it will be easier for us to know what the person will do if he comes into office. I do not think we should be carried away by some unnecessary sentiment. I told a staff of mine in the office, I said, come, one thing you are enjoying today is the fact that you do not, you can't tell where we are coming from. It will be easier for you to know what we will face if you are able to understand what each of these people will bring on board. And I told them that, come, whatever your choice is, will all lead to face the consequences. So I think the better for us if we are able to jointly choose the very best. We cannot rewind this time again. It may be the only time we have to get it right because Nigeria, take it. We have a precipice. The fact is that, of course, it's been said in the studio, all the signs of a failed state, we have it. The instability is there. The insecurity is there. The economic downturn is there. Today, the business environment is practically not doing well. The security environment is not doing well.
We have to leave it there.
You need to choose the right leader that will be able to take us further from here. That's the truth. We can't run away from that.
I don't envy anybody that will take over in 2023 head of term. Right now, the way it is, look at the inflation rates. Right now, look at the interest rates that the CBN just did. Look at the unemployment level. Look at the poverty.
Everything.
So, and look at the monster in the house called subsidy.
And you at some point, you have to buy the bullet. You have to buy the bullet. You cannot continue. You can't be spending more than 6 trillion on a subsidy, whereas ASU is asking for 1.3 trillion revitalization fee. They've been asking for it since 2009. You can't pay, but you can spend 6 trillion on subsidy, the bulk of which gets stolen. So, at a point, you just have to tell yourself that, look, this subsidy has to go because it has encouraged so much corruption. I know that it's difficult, our people will suffer, but the country will suffer more because part of what you should spend, even to fix health, to fix infrastructure, you're spending on subsidy.
Subsidy that you can't account for. I think we should take the candidates on.
Yeah.
One by one, Nigerians should ask questions.
Yeah.
Because we've left that time, you'll be telling us that, look,
and I think Nigerians should rise from these petty rhetorics. They should raise fundamental issues. Just condemning one candidate for this or that without any, we need a candidate that has a national vision.